Welcome everyone to EdHeroes Voices, the podcast where education meets culture to make an impact. In each episode, we dive into the stories of people who are shaping the future of learning and cultural understanding. I'm your host, Alina Baimian, CEO and co-founder of EdHeroes, and I'm excited to be here with you for our very first episode. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce our guest, Farhannisa Nasution, all the way from Jakarta, Indonesia. As the expansion director at EdHeroes, Farhannisa has a wealth of experience in media, international policy, and of course, education. Welcome, Farhannisa.
Hi, Alina. It's a pleasure to join the first edition of podcast EdHeroes Voice.
We're so lucky to have you. We'll start off maybe a little bit from your background. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your career journey and what led you to your current role at EdHeroes.
Wow, to talk about this, I have to take everyone back to like maybe 10 or 12 years before now, where from the earliest of time, I have had a passion for learning, basically continuous learning. And this led me to pursue my career in journalism, where the daily interaction, the activities that I do on a daily basis, to get to interact with new people and new ideas that fueled my curiosity. And however, after about a decade doing things in journalism, I started to discover my true calling in education. Through my experiences as journalist, of course, I went to the field doing reports, live reports, and coverage on a lot of things. And I recognized the pressing needs for improvement in various fields, particularly education. And growing up in an environment where education was valued, thanks to my mom, because she is an avid and extensive experience as an educator, I gained valuable insights and developed a deep appreciation of its importance. So when the opportunity came to join EdHeroes, I, of course, embraced it wholeheartedly, driven by the belief in the noble cause that EdHeroes brings.
That's amazing. So I guess your family is part of what fuels your passion for what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, true.
You also told us how you were going back to your family when we were preparing for the forum, and you were telling them about who we're inviting and what we're doing, and they're very excited. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, I went to my family because we've been preparing this global forum, right, for EdHeroes that will take place in July. And I told them about all the speakers that we are going to invite and the speakers that's already confirmed. And they actually very proud of what we have come, because I've been lucky enough to be with the EdHeroes journey since the beginning of time, taking care of things with our EdHeroes Indonesia hub. And they have been following my journey for quite some time, and to be able to know that their daughter be able to participate in such a global forum with such a noble cause. And they are very excited. And, they even ask me weekly about the progress. I mean, I told them, Mom, chill. The CEO didn't even ask me this often about the updates, but that's just, for me, I think it shows how passionate they are for this forums and for my work in EdHeroes. So I think it means a very good sign that I have their blessings to do this. So it's also a very happy feeling that starts to grow inside me whenever they ask me about something.
That's amazing. And it's great to know that parents never stop being parents, even when you're a full-grown adult doing incredible jobs.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what parents can do.
You're also a news anchor at one of the major channels in Indonesia. Can you tell us a little bit more about that too?
Yeah, I've been working with CNN Indonesia ever since 2017. And a lot of aspects of my entire life are actually come from all the experiences I have during my work as a journalist. I specialize in international affairs, geopolitics, and global affairs. That includes economy, politics, and basically everything. And that allows me to learn and relearn new things every day. that is in the long time, it starts to shape who I am. It starts to merge into my character and my way of thinking, the way I view something, the way I react on certain situations. And I think it was pretty much helps me with the work with EdHeroes as well, because as a global network, we are going to face a lot of people from different countries with different backgrounds and etc. And that helps me to be able to understand them more, and to communicate, and just to finally be able to cooperate and do a collaboration. I think it all derives from my experiences as a journalist.
Wow, you have so much different experience and you take from so many places in order to do the kind of amazing work that you do. Would you say that any part of your cultural heritage, any part of you being Indonesian has also affected your work and what you put into it?
Yeah, of course, because we know the saying that you are what you eat, right? So I think being an Indonesian deeply influences everything that I do. But at the same time, I get to learn from a lot of other people, because one of the main value that Indonesian culture has is about tolerance, right? Our country's principle is unity in diversity. It means even though we have different backgrounds, different way of thinking, different way of life, even different culture, we need to be able to tolerate our friends and other people, because that way it makes the environments more diverse, and therefore we could learn many things from them as well, right? As well as they could learn something from us. And I think it will be the main core that I hold on to whenever I go and whatever I do, because at the end of the day, tolerance is one of the global aspects that needs to be cemented more in our daily lives.
And we can learn a little bit of that. Having many siblings, I can definitely relate how tolerance can be very important. Fanny, you have such an interesting background, but I wonder if any one pivotal moment in your career or maybe in your personal life stood out that changed the way that you approach things.
Well, if you're talking about one pivotal moment, I think that won't be enough. But if I have to choose, I will choose the moments when I was working on a project aimed with improving access to quality education in a rural community in Yogyakarta, which happened to be with EdHeroes, right? If I'm not mistaken, it was in 2022. I vividly remember visiting a small town, or small area, should I say, where educational resources were extremely limited at that time. I met a young girl at the girls' camp named Tika. She had a remarkable enthusiasm for learning, despite all the challenges she faced. She shared with me how she would often teach them what she had learned in school, even though the school itself lacked basic materials and support. And her determination and curiosity were inspiring. And I think with that, all of the things that she has done, she transformed her home and village into a vibrant learning environment despite the odds. And I think witnessing her impact on her community made me realize that true educational change starts from the grassroots level, and it is fueled by the passion and resourcefulness of the individuals. I think that is one of the most pivotal moment for me, because I've seen it firsthand, and I get to see the impact that she has done, not only for herself, but for her surroundings. I think that's amazing.
That's amazing, Fanny. That's so beautiful. Have you ever visited again after?
I have visited Yogyakarta after that, but I haven't got the chance to meet her. But if I get the chance to meet her, I would like to say hi, Tika, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this podcast. I know that you're going to do amazing, and I know that you're doing amazing. So keep on rocking, girl.
That's amazing. I think we can all take a little bit of that advice and that inspiration. I also think it's beautiful when you have people believing in you and truly looking out for your future. I hope that we get to do a lot more projects like that where we get to look after the younger people. Yeah, it's crazy to think that we're the adults that are looking out for the younger generation now, because it seemed not that long ago that we're doing our schooling, university, and everything else.
Yeah, true, true.
Speaking about the different generations, I was wondering maybe if there is a success story or any personal story of someone who's impacted your values and your work.
I think if we have to say about success for me is not about the wealth only. It's merely about the impact that we have to other people and especially our environment. And one of them being a part of, the organizer of our Jambi Leadership and Womenpreneur. We partnered with a PJAR Foundation at that time, because at that time I was still help building PJAR as our partner for Indonesia Hub. And I get to meet a mother. If I'm not mistaken, she was about 50 to 60 years old. Her name is Mrs. Asri. And she was one of the participants in our Jambi's Leadership and Womenpreneur camp. And she traveled for 2 days to attend our camp from her hometown in West Sumatra. West Sumatra is a province in Sumatra Island, where our camp is set in Jambi. So it took her 2 days of traveling with her husband and kids, because her husband encouraged her to join the training so that she could expand her small enterprises at home. Now, the fact that to access the place to join our training, it took 3 hours of driving through the unpaved roads. So it's basically almost a jungle trip, because whenever you look out on the right side and the left side, it was all trees. I remember one time our bus needs to stop because a big snake are crossing the streets, and the driver stopped the car because it was basically jungle and no lamps, no electricity on the roads, etc. And on those 2 days, she told me that her husband waited in the capital city, drove her to the place back and forth. And if you know something about Indonesia compared to what our ancestors in Indonesia would have done to women who tried to pursue education at that time, well, if it's not a changed mindset, I don't know what is, because it might be a day-to-day basis story when you're living in a downtown area, but to find such story in a remote, or basically, should I say, jungle area, I think that is definitely something. And I wouldn't dare to say it as a success story, but I think it would be more that actually incorporate what impact means to me. So I think this is one of the beautiful story that I will forever hold on to.
It is very, very beautiful. And it just makes you think about all the things that you have and making sure you don't take them for granted. I think we often forget that there's a lot of different stories, a lot of different people around the world, and they're not some distant people and who knows where. We're all in the same planet, all in the same time. And it's really, really easy to forget. I also remember the times when our grandparents, I'm not sure if yours did, I think there's also memes about grandparents being like, hey, you should have just imagined what kind of resources I had if I had the resources that you had. And we often take it for granted, but I remember my grandma telling me how hard it was for her to get to school, and she had to stay and live in a school over winters because it was too hard, impossible to get to school in the winters with all the snows. And I always think, yeah, it's kind of the same old stories, but those stories are not unique, and those stories are not in the past. They're still happening. So it's great to have a little bit of appreciation for what we have, for what I have.
It is. It helps us to be grateful for what we have, because we know out there, not everybody has the same chance as us, as the same opportunity as us to join and to enjoy everything that we have.
Exactly. Yeah. Funny, tell me, did you feel like you had to overcome certain challenges to be where you are today?
When it comes to challenges, I think there are a lot of challenges that I am facing, and I still face it until now. That that allows me to think about. Even sometimes, it happens in a very, very intense amount that I have to, I have to take a step back and just think whether it is going to be a right decision or not. One of them is about, the image that says women should belong to the domestic affairs only. Because I think it is a misconceptions that a lot of people still have, especially in my country, in Indonesia, where they thought that the ideal perspective of a woman is the ones that, just stay at home. But I think if we take a step back to and relate it to the stories of our grandmothers that you have said before, they even during their time where they have limited access, limited resources, they still fight as hard as it could be to gain access to the best they can have in education, for example. And I think it would be some sort of a crime, I think, if we're not carrying their spirit and incorporate that to our daily lives, because at that time they have to fight that hard to make us, could enjoy everything that we have easily, without facing any difficult challenges and everything. So I think by honoring the fact that we are having access, and I think it could also help to makes us feel grateful for our grandparents, our elderly, and I think it would be great for us if we could, cement the ideas into society that girls can also be whatever they want to be, do whatever they want to do, and achieve the highest education as possible.
Funny, I have very few words right now. There are some ways that I can relate being from Kazakhstan, being a girl, a woman. It definitely pains me to see the lack of opportunities for young girls in many, many places. And you're completely right. Our grandparents would be very upset if they knew that we didn't take our chances. And I think what everything is all about here is for girls to have a choice. Nothing is frowned upon, and you can do anything you put your heart to. Be a superhero, be a mom, be an astronaut. And exactly, it's amazing to have the choice. Be a CNN news anchor while managing her own business and working at a global network.
Yeah, and I am pretty sure that it doesn't just happen to me or you or maybe someone that is our friends or our colleagues. It happens to a lot of young girls out there. So yeah, I think it is important as young girls who have the opportunity for a better access to also help other girls out there to gain access for them to be the best version of themselves and to aspire to reach their goals.
Exactly. Honey, if you had a piece of advice for all the young girls there, what would it be?
I think it would be to be brave, because everything that is considered as a big achievement starts from small ones, and your small will elevate as you journey with time. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Because at the end of the day, if you're consistent, your perseverance is high, then you will become anything, literally anything the mind or your mind is telling you. Because it's all in here, it's all about the mindset. And we have heard a lot of story about someone who came from a little or remote villages. He or she came out of her comfort zone And, eventually she made it. And that story could also happen to you only if you allow yourself to try.
That's amazing. Meanwhile, we will be on the other side supporting and helping all of those young girls and generally people who are seeking to have those opportunities and be brave. We hope to be the bridge for their braveness.
It is. It is.
Sunny, let's go into a little bit of a segment about Indonesia and Indonesian culture. It is so rich. It has so many different languages, so many different island cultures. Can you tell us a little bit about how many languages there are in Indonesia?
I think it was about 718 at this point.
Wow.
Because, being an archipelago, we have so many islands, even 17,000 islands to be exact. And each of the islands have cultural heritage, their own cultural heritage, and that includes the language. So each of them are very different, and that also makes Indonesia is in the second position of a country that has the most languages.
That's amazing. That is so much. Can you imagine we struggle learning 2 languages? There's so many.
Yeah, for example, I came from Medan, right, Alina. Medan is in the northern part of Sumatra Island, and I currently live in Jakarta. Even being able to live in these two places, it's already, reveal a lot of differences, a lot of aspects that I need to, adapt when it comes to transition. So imagine being able to learn about the whole language from the whole Indonesia. So I think it's pretty much fabulous if you can do that. And I hope that someday, when I get the chance, I get to visit more provinces in Indonesia.
Would you say the languages differ a lot from each other?
I could say so, yeah. Especially the language that came from an area or a province that is located in different islands. For example, Sumatra province's languages is different from the one in Java because it's located in 2 different islands, and that is affected by demography, I think, social norms and traditions. I think when it comes to language, it is affected by a lot of factors, but I think mostly it's about that.
Yeah, that's incredible to have so many. Could you also tell us maybe a little bit about the culture in different regions, how it varies?
Yeah, I think in different regions in Indonesia, they're all very, very rich. For example, we have in Kalimantan, we have Dayak tribe. Dayak tribe is also known for their rich cultural heritage, where they have the dance and the traditional houses and everything. And they also, up until now, still have the Kampung Adat. Kampung Adat is the area where they 100% practice their cultural heritage, including the values, even the laws, the local laws, and the traditions and everything. And also a lot of area in Indonesia, a lot of provinces in Indonesia. For example, in Java, we have Yogyakarta, we have Surakarta. They still have this royal palace, we call it Keraton here, where they practice religiously about their ancient traditional values that derive from generations to generations up until now. And they still make it relevant. And also, not to mention Bali. Bali is one of the most famous aspects about Indonesia. And you see in Bali, foreign tourists came and they are told to respect the culture, especially during Nyepi, the silent day, where you know how hectic Bali is. But during the Nyepi day, just only for that one day, everything is silent, no activities, no beach clubs, basically no one is even on the street to buy food and everything. So I think that is the beauty of the Indonesian cultures, because it's so diverse, yet we can unite as one, because it reflects the Pancasila as a symbol and the principle of our country.
Wow, that's amazing. There's so many things, and I didn't know about. Bali is a very famous destination, but I had no idea about the Silent Day. Could I ask about the significance of it?
The Silence Day, it's in Indonesia we call it Nyepi. Nyepi, it means the silent day. So it's the day where all the uh, Hindu Balinese people took the time to pray, but they do it inside their house and the temples. And there's going to be a pacalang. Pacalang is some sort of guardians for the culture that do the patrols to make sure that everyone is in their house. And even you're in the house, you are not allowed to turn the television on with the high volume. So if you would like to turn it on, maybe you're muted it because it's silence. The whole Bali, even though it's one of the most busiest place in Indonesia, it's going to a complete silence during that specific one day. So it's the traditions that they have done from centuries, and it's still happened until now. And that's symbolized how Balinese appreciate their own culture, and also we also appreciate their own culture so much.
Is there a way that the culture in different regions of Indonesia affects education in those regions?
Of course, because you are what you eat. Back again, if we talk about creativity, the way of thinking to solve problems, I think this holds the main role, because by drawing from diverse traditions, stories, perspectives, Indonesian youth or students are encouraged to think approaches innovative and approach challenges with a unique lens. So there's not going to be one single solution. You can also have multiple solutions because all of them have different stories and different way of thinking. Therefore, we have a more diverse approach in doing things as well as problem solving. And I think we can use it as the opportunity to learn and adapt from various perspectives that will broaden our knowledge.
That's amazing. Do you think that those skills, those problem-solving skills or otherwise, how do they differ from other parts of the world, even from other parts of Southeast Asia?
Yeah, I think from my experiences as a student who spent all of my entire lives in Indonesia, and I made about my entire level of basic education up to higher level of education in Indonesia. So I pretty much grew up here. I could say that in Indonesia, education often emphasizes communal learning, and values such as cooperation and respect for the authority. While, as I understand it, global standards prioritize individual achievements and critical thinking. Indonesian education places a strong emphasis on memorization and respect to traditions. But despite there are differences, I think Indonesian education also offers a unique opportunity, to cultivate a sense of community and cultural identity that could foster resilience and adaptability in students or in any young Indonesians, basically, as they navigate to a rapidly changing world. And nowadays, I think it is an important skill to have. And by integrating global best practices with indigenous wisdom, I think it has the potential to create a well-rounded individual who can thrive both locally and globally.
That's amazing. Do you think that education in Indonesia generally differs or it's similar to the global standard?
I think, of course, it is different. And by there, I mean Indonesian educational system emphasize a lot on, values such as cooperation and respect and, adaptability, resilience. And I think it is going to be important because adaptability is one of the most important skills to have in the rapidly changing world. And at the same time, I think as Indonesian, we could also learn from the global standard that prioritize individual achievement and critical thinking, because integrating the global best practices with local or indigenous wisdom, I think Indonesian education has the potential to create a very well-rounded individual that can thrive locally and also globally.
Yeah, and I guess that's a part of what we're trying to build here. It's the strong respect to local culture, strong ties to your roots, but also being able to connect to the global landscape, understand the global issues, bring perspectives from different cultures into your own. And I guess Indonesian youths are already far ahead.
I think, yeah, it's like the locality, right? It's a global mindset with
Yeah.
local approach. I think that's what we do here at EdHeroes.
Do you think that there are a lot of myths about Indonesian culture and or education um, that people think of, but they're actually not true?
Wow, this is a very good question. I have a lot to say on this, but I think
Okay.
if I had to choose, one common misconceptions about Indonesia is that it is a homogeneous culture, when in fact it is incredibly diverse with over 700 languages and distinct cultural traditions across its archipelago. Um, as a person, I strive to highlight the richness of Indonesian culture, celebrating its diversity as a source of my strength. And hopefully it could send a different message to everyone out there that Indonesia is, country with a lot of diversity.
I hope that all of our listeners and our viewers hear this, and maybe if they had any previous prejudice, it's debunked, or maybe just going forward to Indonesia when they're traveling, when they're meeting new people, they're going to have a little bit more understanding and respect to the Indonesian culture. So now let's do a little part on the actual initiatives that maybe you were doing, that EdHeroes were doing, and the heart of your work. I know that you've already mentioned the projects that you did in EdHeroes, but is there an initiative or any particular tasks or things that that you really appreciated doing at EdHeroes, or maybe even in your prior roles?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things that I appreciate the most during my times working with EdHeroes. For example, I'm grateful to be able to work with EdHeroes since the beginning to build Indonesia Hub, which is one of our first hubs. And during my time building Indonesia Hub alongside PGR Foundation as our partner, we have successfully organized a lot of activities to promote quality education here and set up some skill-based training camps and activities in Jakarta, Yogyakarta, and Jambi and more. And as for to be able to work as the expansion director of EdHeroes, I am so and forever grateful to be able to connect with more people around the globe, to learn about their approach in doing things and how to tackle the challenges that they have faces, and to be able to share the things that we have done here. And hopefully they could also use it as a study case where it could be implemented in their lives or their works or their projects. So I think it's the exchange of information that I value the most.
Considering it is also your specialty, media communications, it makes sense that this is a part that you're most involved with at EdHeroes too, being the expansion director. Fanny, you do so much work at EdHeroes and in your different projects. I was wondering if maybe there are certain values or certain things that you bring with you into all of your projects and into your initiatives.
Yeah, I think what I bring to the work that I've done with EdHeroes is that always to be able to listen, because as a journalist itself, it is one of the most important and actually the main important skills to have, because being able to listen about the problems out there, it could make you opened your horizons to approaches that, that maybe wasn't there. So I think be able to listen, and it allows you to engage with local communities. And at the same time, when people feel listened, they feel appreciated. And when they feel appreciated, it is easier for us to collaborate with them and to learn from them as well as to, hopefully bring something that we have done in the previous activities during our time at EdHeroes, or maybe our forums or events, to exchange this information. So I think by doing this, I think we have mentioned this as a locality before. It's a global mindset with local approach. I think this approach not only foster community ownership and long-term sustainability project, but also ensures our efforts are relevant and impactful in the diverse context.
Wow, that is a lot that you put into your projects. There is a lot that could be learned from you as well in the work not only that people do internationally or educationally, but in everyday communications with people, the appreciation to have for each and every person, their background, and the ability to listen. Could I ask, how do you, in your projects, you are amazing at listening to people, you're amazing at bringing in culture and being understanding. Could you tell me, is there a way to ensure that, and especially nowadays in our time with all the media coverage and cancel culture, is there a way to be culturally sensitive and ensure that the things that you do are polite and correct?
Yeah, I think it will come to the ability to understand, and the ability to understand came from the ability to listen. So I think by incorporate these values into any work that we have done, I think this will helps a lot. Because if you understand about something, you automatically will understand what to do and what not to do, what to avoid and what to actually prioritize. And I think this will help a lot, especially when the cancel culture arises in the society. And we need to understand why people got canceled. It's usually because they do something against the norm that, that is currently held or valued greatly in a society. And usually it's all about good or bad, right? But the most interesting thing is that good or bad is very, very subjective. And I think that is where the ability to listen holds a pivotal key. Because when you listen, you are automatically be sensitive of your surroundings, and you will automatically also understand what is happening. And it incorporates your brain to, find a solution or find something that is that might be the best way to do something or to say something. And I think that's why the very first skill that we need to incorporate more are the skills of listening. And by listening, I don't always mean listening by your own ears. It comprises a lot of things, including understanding and, memorizing as well. So, yeah.
It's incredible that you say that and that we touch upon a lot in the topic of listening, because I think it's a skill that is being taught a lot now on how to listen. And I think it's a big topic in gender studies, in professional field, to be able to comprehend what the other person is saying, to be able to live through, be in the other person's shoes. And really value, even if you don't understand, because I think it's impossible maybe to understand everything, but to be respectful of another person's experience. You're completely right. And wow, also thinking of a lot of things now.
Yeah, because from something that is so simple as listening, it could lead to empathy. It could grow the empathy within us little by little. And I think that will slowly but sure affect our character.
Yeah. Funny, we always have so much fun talking, and we can usually talk for hours. Um, but I wonder, in this professional atmosphere, I wonder if you had any funny moments or unexpected things that happened at EdHeroes that you still laugh at today.
Oh, there are actually a few things. As you know, I would like to pick this one because I think the funny thing, it keeps on happening so much of the time, is when I forget the meaning of one specific word in English while explaining about something during a meeting. It was hilarious because my first instinct was to say it in Indonesian language, in Bahasa Indonesia, and of course, no one understood it. And people was like, yes, what? Everyone is trying to be polite, but and it happens multiple times where the brain is not braining. So yeah, I think that's one of the specific funny moments that is happening until now. So yeah, I'm so sorry if during the meeting I keep on forgetting words.
Honestly, no problem. You speak so many languages. And I feel like the more languages that you speak, the less that you actually know either of those languages very well, and they just keep getting mixed up.
It is. It is. It's going on around at the same time.
It's really funny having an international team and everyone is speaking their own language and saying their own things. And we get to learn a lot about each other's cultures. But on the other hand, sometimes we just don't understand each other. You know what? I think that's where we don't speak with our brains, but with our hearts, because we still have the same values and similar approaches. And that's where we know what the other person is saying without hearing it.
It is. It is. When you practice to connect your brain and your heart, even though your brain cannot say something, your heart will definitely can say anything.
But oh, how I wish I could speak many, many more languages. That would be a wonderful superpower.
It is. It is. Me too.
Fanny, if you could choose one superpower, what would it be?
Well, yeah, it's that. It's definitely being able to instantly understand and speak any language. I think that would be my superpower.
I think we're still a little bit behind on that technology with instant translation, although so many apps promise that they do that. I feel like it's still not quite up to par.
Yeah, it is. It is. We're still a long way from there.
Fanny, do you have any kind of last remarks, recommendations to our listeners?
I think if I could say something for everyone out there that's listening to this podcast, is that whenever you try to make a difference in any kind of spectrum of your lives, you should be able to be who you are, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can, because your standard of small will elevate as you journey with time. Remember, every big accomplishment starts with a decision to try. And if something is going to be the it thing for this global era, I would like to choose one wisdom that Indonesian have. It's berat sama dipikul, ringan sama dijinjing. In English, it translates to together the heavy burden is lifted and the light load is carried. So this proverb emphasizes the importance of teamwork and solidarity. It conveys that when people work together and support each other, even the most difficult challenges become manageable. And I think this is a universal message of collaboration and mutual support that can inspire people from all backgrounds, hopefully, to value community, cooperation, and share responsibility.
Fanny, thank you so much. After this talk, I feel even more proud and honored to be working together, to be in a team, to be accomplishing something bigger than ourselves. And I think to our listeners, maybe you've learned something new today. Maybe it's something that you knew but was reinforced. But I was personally really grateful to have this conversation with you. A huge, huge thank you to Farhannisa Nasution for joining us today and sharing her story, her wisdom, her infinite expertise. And if you've been inspired or interested by today's episode, remember to share it with a friend. Follow for more episodes with more people just like Fanny. And this has been EdHeroes Voices, and I'm Alina Bayman, signing off. Until next time, keep learning and keep making an impact. Thank you, Fanny.
Thank you so much, Alina. Bye-bye.